Okay, everyone. There's a sidebar to what we were just looking at with our pace and compass and our tape compass. There is a shortcut, and I want to show you what that looks like. I guess my first preference would be that you would model the integrity session that we just posted and loaded for you that corresponds with your pace compass lab with your GIS guide. And I would go through that. We just spent time going 1 through 10. And so I would follow those rules to load in your pace map and your tape and your triangulation, in particular with your direction length that we just used. I'm going to show you an automated way now to make this happen a little bit more cleanly. I don't think you would probably learn quite as much in this process, but once you're familiar with it, I would encourage you to maybe take a look at using such a template that kind of automates it so that you don't have to do it all yourself. And so to begin, what you'll see under week 2, you'll see a little text document that's entitled Pace Underbar Compass Template. And let's go ahead and open that up. This is under, again, week 2, spatial data. It's a little notepad document, but you'll see some of the files here, the numbers rather, that are indicated in the notepad document. And up on top you will see a DT up here by my cursor, an NA, a DU, a DD, an SP, and a 00. Those are placeholders that are required to make the conversion possible. But what I would do is the DD means your degrees here as we look down. But what you see right here are some different values. These are just arbitrary values that are unrelated to our lab here for our polygon outside of Hoffman. But the 172 would be an azimuth reading, and 89 would be an azimuth reading. All of these in the leftmost column here are all azimuth readings. And the 42.3, the 54.2, the 40.6, this column over here on the right, the rightmost column, are your distance measurements. And again, these could be your pace distances or your tape distances. It makes no difference. The key are to keep the top 3 lines the same for format. So you want these exact numbers and letters to appear up here. Otherwise, all you'll be doing is changing the angle and the distance for each one of your entries, no matter how many you have. So you can key those in or bring them in from an Excel document or whatever, but all the spacing needs to be preserved. Please pay close attention to the spacing in here. You'll have to have the DD and everything as well. So that's a template for you. Let's see what this looks like. I'm going to copy this out. I'm going to place it under my working directory on the C drive, which for me was my lab demo folder. Just going to paste that in there. Okay. Now, what we should be able to do is I'm going to show you how this works. Whoops. I'm going to create another line file. Just show you quickly the process. I'm going to create a shape file. I'm going to create a polyline again, and I'm going to call this one automated line. It's going to create an automated line for us, so we don't have to use the COGO toolbar. We'll still use it, but it'll just be, as I mentioned, automated. So what I'm going to do is just take this shape file, polyline we created, drag this over, and now what we'll do is we'll start editing. It looks like we are editing here. But in order to get our automated line to show up, I'm going to come over here in the created features and use this organize templates and create under the new template button up here, just bring in that automated line. By default it should be highlighted already, but just then select finish, and there you'll see it over here. But again, to create that, all I did was hit organize templates, new template, and then brought over the automated line layer we just created. Now we should be ready to bring this in. Okay, the next step would be right up under our COGO toolbar where it says Traverse, the Traverse button up there. I'm going to open this, just like before, except we don't have any means to add any direction or distances in there. Instead, what I'm going to do is to right-click in this middle box area where you'll see the cursor. Under description, I'm going to right-click, and you'll see a number of options that appear, but only one is highlighted. And the only one that we can use is called Load Traverse. I'm going to select that, and now I'm going to navigate to my folder, which for me was my temp file, lab demo. For yours, it will be something different. But I'm going to add that paste compass template for you to show you how it works. And as soon as I enter this and select open, it will automatically plot your line work with however you chose to set up your parameters. And so here you see it. It gave you the straight line direction and distance just with the parameters that were provided in that template. So what could you do from this? Well, what I would do is first, number one, remember to always make sure that you follow the startup protocol. In other words, look at your lab guide, make sure that your editing options are set to north azimuth, that you have your fixed scale created in there, that you have feet set up for appropriate distance measurements. And then now this really jumps us ahead to that matter for right up to number 8. And so we can use the close loop if we want to. So if I just illustrate that and say closure, it will give us our error ratio. Here in this case, it's 1 to 77. So that's okay. You know, if you chose to do it this way, again, I would ask that you save this and include it in your report. Now, under adjust, what we can do is with our compass method, we'll use that as our adjustment method again. Our original description, our adjusted values that we would need to move each point and in what direction for whatever distance to close that, and then the residual values. Save this report as a text file, and you can include that in your report as well. But I'm going to accept, and this now should close for us. In there you'll see our automated line appear. Make this a little bit larger. Let's go ahead and create that process again, but we'll just leave our uncorrected version. So the automated line we just created was actually our corrected one. Let's go back into catalog and we'll create a new shapefile here called automated line uncorrected. Again, a polyline. And let's drag that over. Just going to make this a little bit larger for us. Let's go ahead and repeat the same exact process with the same template that we have. So I'm going to edit, but first, again, we need to add that template. There we go. Bring up our COGO Traverse toolbar. Right-click, Load Traverse. Let's load the same exact thing. Our paste compass template. There we have our line work that you see coming in. And what I'm going to do is just hit Finish. Either Finish, or you could actually go down here and say right-click Finish Sketch if you wanted as well. You can just right-click Finish Sketch. But instead, we will just say Finish. And then now we can close out of our Traverse window, and there we have our unfinished, or rather our uncorrected version. And there we go with that. So the uncorrected versus the corrected. So it all does bring it in spatially for you. And then certainly you could add your points on there, your triangulated lines, and what have you. So that's another quick way of showing you an automated process using the Load Traverse template. But again, as our last reminder, make sure that you enter all of those values in yourself with whatever values that you used for your lab, whether paste or tape.